In the quiet that comes after the day, when the world lies beneath a quilt of shadows and the stars are beginning to glow like embers in the far vault of night, there is a story that breathes with you. It is entire, a weaving of beginnings and endings, a long thread that winds through the ages and through the dreams of a people who watched their gods in the movement of sun and moon. It is the story of the Aztec gods, told not as a lesson but as a meditation, a slow, gentle unfolding meant to be listened to as one falls toward sleep. Nothing is forced, nothing demands attention. The narrative drifts like incense smoke, ancient and soft, inviting you to wander among memories and ruins, to listen to wind against stone, to feel the presence of something sacred moving just beyond the edges of sight. Masks and dances play a special role in weaving this fabric. Masks are not merely decorations, they are vehicles for transformation. Artisans carve them from wood, obsidian, and stone, or create them from woven reeds and cotton cloth. They inlay turquoise, jade, coral, and shell to create shimmering surfaces that catch firelight. A jaguar mask has fangs carved of bone and eyes of sparkling pyrite. A hummingbird mask features layers of green and blue feathers. A skull mask is made of real human bone with turquoise mosaic covering its surface, staring with mother-of-pearl eyes. When dancers put on these masks during ceremonies, they do not merely pretend, they become the beings represented. A dancer wearing a coyote mask crouches low, moves with quick, light steps, howls softly to the beat of drums. Another, masked as a butterfly, flutters arms draped in embroidered cloth, turning slowly in circles. The dance is accompanied by drums, rattles, flutes, and the deep sound of the Huitzilopochtli, a vertical drum. The dancer's footsteps tap rhythms that echo the heartbeat of the earth. Masks allow humans to step out of their ordinary roles and to channel gods, animals, and ancestors. They also allow the community to see these beings manifested. When a child watches a masked dancer swirling through smoke, he sees Tezcatlipoca's jaguar or Xochiquetzal's flower spirit alive. The mask maker prays over each piece, asking that it properly house the divine. After the ceremony, masks are stored carefully, wrapped in cloth, occasionally fed with copal smoke. They are living objects with appetites and moods. Their presence in storage spaces hums softly, reminding people that the boundary between world and other world is thin. Among the celestial beings, Tezcatlipoca, the Lord of the Dawn, stands out. He is an aspect of Quetzalcoatl associated with the planet Venus as the morning star. When Venus rises before the sun, it is bright and piercing, heralding day. Huitzilopochtli carries darts of light. In one myth, after the creation of the fifth sun, Tonatiuh demands sacrifice before moving. Huitzilopochtli grows impatient. He aims his darts at the sun, hoping to force him to move, but his darts miss. In return, Tonatiuh hurls his own dart, striking Huitzilopochtli in the face. He becomes Tlaloc, the god of curved things, associated with blindness, frost, and misfortune. His straight darts become curved obsidian blades. In another version, Tlaloc is born when Huitzilopochtli strikes the rain god's consort, and the punishment is transformation into coldness. These stories show the danger of impatience and the consequences of challenging the sun. When you watch Venus gleaming in a pre-dawn sky, you can think of this god aiming his light at the sun. When a cold, frosty wind blows and plants are bent by ice, Tlaloc is near. The morning star was important to the Aztecs for determining when to plant, when to go to war, when to hold certain rituals. Priests observed its cycles meticulously. Its appearance on certain dates could signal prosperity or disaster. The duality of Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc reminds us that light and cold are two sides of the same phenomenon, that brilliance can quickly turn to brittleness. In those first breaths of the story, we stand at the edge of time itself. There is no earth, no sky, no sea, only a great unbounded darkness pulsing with potential. It is a dark that is not frightening, but peaceful, like the warm darkness behind closed eyes. Within that vastness there exists a dual presence, a being that is both male and female, both creator and created. The Aztecs called this presence Ometeotl, the Lord and Lady of Duality, whose name can be heard as a whisper in the void. Ometeotl is two and one, a union of opposites. In some traditions, Ometeotl and Ometeotl stand at the very highest heaven, Omeokon, where they dream creation. Imagine them in that endless expanse, a pair of divinities intertwined, dreaming together, their breath becoming worlds. They are stillness, and they are the potential of motion. In the cosmic womb of Omeokon, they turn and conceive, and from their divine essence 4 children are born, each embodying a direction and a color and a concept. These are the 4 Tezcatlipocas, the smoking mirrors of the cosmos. Tezcatlipoca, who is dark and powerful, guardian of the north. Quetzalcoatl, who is radiant and luminous, the feathered serpent of the west. Huitzilopochtli, who burns with blue flame, the warrior of the south. And Xipe Totec, whose color is red, lord of the east and of renewal. Each of these divine beings will shape the world in a different way, and each carries with them a mirror of obsidian in which destinies and possibilities flicker. There is no rush in creation. In that ancient emptiness, the 4 brothers and their parents contemplate the possibilities. Picture them in your mind's eye as forms of light and shadow moving within a quiet expanse, their voices like wind through reeds. They decide to make a world, but before anything can arise, they need a foundation. Out of the deep waters there emerges a monstrous creature, part crocodile, part fish, covered in scales and teeth. Her name is Tlaloc in some stories, Xipe in others, a primordial earth monster who floats in the dark waters, hungry for flesh. She is unformed earth, raw and demanding. To create, the gods must dismember her, but this is no easy task. In one telling, Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca approach her together. They are luminous and dark, twin aspects of possibility. Tezcatlipoca lowers his foot as bait. The monster bites it off, swallowing it in her hunger, and as she is momentarily distracted, the brothers strike. They tear her apart, and from her dismembered body, the world is formed. Her hair becomes forests, her back becomes mountains, her eyes become springs, and her mouth becomes rivers. The sky is lifted up from her belly. The sea, nourished by her blood, spreads out. From the pain of her tearing arises land and life. Because she was dismembered against her will, she cries out for blood, and in the centuries to come, humans will offer her their blood to soothe her rage. The gods themselves feel the cost. Tezcatlipoca has lost his foot, and the wound smolders like obsidian under smoke, a reminder that creation comes through sacrifice. Imagine now the world newly formed, sunlight not yet constant, earth fresh and clean, mountains rising like the backs of sleeping serpents. The waters are still, reflecting the first glimmers of dawn that have yet to truly appear. In this world, the gods decide that there must be light and movement, a sun to make time start. The first sun appears when Tezcatlipoca, perhaps proud and fierce, steps forward and becomes the sun. For a time he hangs in the sky, warming the earth and illuminating the new land. Beneath him, giants roam. But Tezcatlipoca is not content to remain above. He descends to earth. The world is plunged into darkness, and jaguars, his emissaries, devour the giants. The first age ends in claws and teeth, the roaring of jaguars echoing through forests, a primal end to the earliest experiment. The sun that follows belongs to Quetzalcoatl. He becomes the second sun, bright and gentle, and under his light new beings grow. But a mighty wind, perhaps sent by Tezcatlipoca in anger or part of the cosmic plan, rises and sweeps the world. The people are blown away, turned into monkeys, their hands now used to swing through trees rather than craft or plant. The gods watch, perhaps sorrowful, as their second age is carried off in a hurricane. Next, Tlaloc, lord of rain and lightning, takes up the role of sun. The world is rich under his light, but he is distracted when his wife Xochiquetzal is taken away by another power. In his grief and anger, he withholds the rains, and when finally he releases them, they fall as fire. Flames pour down from the heavens like molten rain, and those who live on earth are consumed. In this burning, the third son dies. Chalcutlicue, goddess of precious waters, then becomes the fourth sun. She lights the world with the gentle glow of jade waters, and under her reign, the earth is soft. But some of the gods accuse her of feigning kindness, of selfishness, and she weeps. Her tears become a flood, and the world is drowned. People are turned into fish, swimming in the endless floodwaters. The fourth age ends under water, the sound of rain blending with the goddess's sobbing. It is said that each sun lasted a very long time, each age equal to thousands of years. Though we move quickly through them here, imagine them as slow, unhurried cycles, with lifetimes unfolding beneath each era's sky, with cultures rising and falling, with songs and rituals to each successive sun. In the aftermath of these four destroyed worlds, there is a great council. The gods gather at a place that the Aztecs later call Teotihuacan, the city where gods are born. In the dark of night, they convene around a sacred fire, and the air is thick with the scent of burning copal resin. They discuss who will become the fifth son, the son of our age. Two deities step forward, a humble, pock-skinned god named Nanahuatzin, and a wealthy, proud god named Tezcatlipoca. Each is willing to sacrifice himself to become the sun. The fire at the center of the gathering is built high. Nanahuatzin sits by it, meditating, offering quails and his own blood, while Tezcatlipoca offers precious jade and coral. When the moment comes to leap into the flames, Tezcatlipoca hesitates. He is afraid of the heat. Nanahuatzin, though marked by illness, throws himself into the fire without pause. He burns, and as the flames consume him, his heart rises into the sky, glowing. Tezcatlipoca, ashamed, jumps in after. Two bright bodies appear, both suns. Their light is unbearable, so equal that there is no distinction of day and night. The gods are displeased. To resolve this, one of the gods picks up a rabbit and hurls it at Tezcatlipoca's face. The blow dims his light, leaving imprints of a rabbit on his surface. He becomes the moon, softening his brightness, while Nanahuatzin becomes Tonatiuh, the fifth sun. Tonatiuh stops in the sky. He will not move until he receives the sacrifice of his fellow gods. One after another, the gods offer their own hearts and blood to Tonatiuh, and only then does he begin his daily journey across the heavens. In the centuries after, humans will mirror this act, offering their blood so that the sun may continue to rise. Blood is the currency of movement. Without it, time itself may stall. These myths are not meant to be read quickly. Each act of sacrifice, each hesitation and leap, is to be savored like a slow pulse. Hear the crackle of the sacred fire. Feel the weight of the gods' silence as they watch their companions step into the flames. Sense the moment when the sun first moves. After the fifth sun is in the sky, it is necessary to people the world again. Quetzalcoatl, ever compassionate, undertakes this task. He descends from the heavens, entering the 9 layers of the underworld known as Mictlan. Mictlan is not a place of punishment, but a realm of shadows and quiet, the home of the dead. Its lord, Mictlantecutli, and his wife, Mictecacihuatl, rule in darkness, accompanied by owls and bats. Quetzalcoatl goes to ask for the bones of those who died in previous ages, to fashion humans for this new sun. Mictlantecutli agrees, but on the condition that Quetzalcoatl completes certain tasks. With trickery and wisdom, Quetzalcoatl succeeds, but Mictlantecutli changes his mind and pursues him. As Quetzalcoatl flees, he stumbles, and the bones he carries break. They scatter and become of different sizes. Later, when he creates humans, these varying sizes of bones become the cause of diversity among humans, some tall, some small. To give life to these bones, the gods gather once more and cut themselves. Their blood sprinkles onto the bones, and the bones begin to move, to breathe. In this act, the gods set a pattern. Life requires sacrifice. In the days that follow, Quetzalcoatl also travels to a mountain where all the seeds are kept. With the help of Nanahuatzin in his guise as lightning, he splits open the mountain. Maize, beans, and amaranth spill forth, and with them the foods that will sustain humankind. Corn is distributed to the 4 directions, each variety carrying a hue and a meaning. Imagine that mountain, Tonacatapetl, as a great stone womb filled with grains. Imagine the crack of lightning as it cleaves the rock. Imagine the golden kernels pouring like sunlight down slopes. The world is ready, seeded, and lit, watered by the tears of gods. In this new world, time itself flows in cycles. The Aztecs used 2 calendars that interlock like gears, the Tonalpohualli, a 260-day ritual calendar, and the Chupohualli, a 365-day solar calendar. Every 52 years, the 2 cycles complete a round together. At that moment, the Mexica hold a ceremony called the New Fire. All fires in their great valley are extinguished. In the darkness, priests climb a sacred hill carrying a new fire drill. In silence, with the stars above and the people watching from afar, they start the flame. The moment the fire sparks, a cheer rises, and torches are lit from this newborn flame. Homes, temples, and hearts are rekindled, and the fear that the sun might not rise is laid to rest for another cycle. This event is both cosmic and intimate. It connects the individual to the stars. When you think about time passing, imagine it not as a line, but as a spiral, turning and returning, each cycle accompanied by rituals and songs. The Aztecs see time as living, something that must be fed and honored. On the last night before the new fire, they break their pots and throw away old household goods. They purge to make room for the new. In this, there is a recognition that letting go is necessary for renewal. Let us wander now through this world, guided by the gods. The first to greet us is Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror. Stand with him at night when the stars cluster like obsidian dust. Tezcatlipoca holds in his hand an obsidian mirror, polished so finely that it reflects more than faces it shows fates. In his mirror, one sees the possibility of riches and misery, of glory and downfall. He is unpredictable, a god of kings and beggars, of warriors and sorcerers. His laughter can be a blessing or a curse. He is sometimes pictured with a smoking mirror in place of one foot, and sometimes with his lost foot replaced by a snake. He created and destroyed worlds, and he remains present in every wind that shifts the destiny of a person. His temptations are like the deep waters of the mirror, alluring, unfathomable, sometimes treacherous. He is darkness and magic. He is the night sky itself. When the Mexica tells stories about Tezcatlipoca, they speak of his jest, his cunning, and his tests. A great king may fall because Tezcatlipoca whispered a thought into his ear. A humble man may rise because Tezcatlipoca took pity on his perseverance. To understand him is to accept that life is unpredictable and that fortune is as smoky as a mirror clouded with breath. His presence is felt in the sudden twist of events, in the unexpected visitor at night. His animal forms include the jaguar, whose gleaming eyes peer from the jungle in the dark. The jaguar moves silently, its paws barely touching leaves. When you hear leaves rustling at night, imagine that it is Tezcatlipoca passing by, carrying with him secrets wrapped in smoke. Opposite Tezcatlipoca in many myths stands Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. He is light to Tezcatlipoca's dark, breath to his silence. Imagine a serpent covered in vivid green and blue feathers, undulating across the sky like a rainbow turned into flesh. Quetzalcoatl is the god of wind, of dawn, of knowledge. He is Huitzilopochtli when he moves as the wind, gentle and fragrant. He is the morning star when he appears as Tlaloc. He is Xochitl when he guides souls to the afterlife. In the days of the Toltecs, he is said to have walked as a priest-king, Tezcatlipoca, who taught his people to worship peacefully, to cultivate maize, to write, and to craft. He forbade sacrifice, offering instead flowers and butterflies. But his opponent, Tezcatlipoca, tricked him. In one telling, he convinced Quetzalcoatl to drink pulque, a fermented agave beverage. Drunk and ashamed, Quetzalcoatl left his city, vowing to return. The people believed he would come back one day from the east. In later history, when the Spaniards arrived, some thought their leader resembled the returning Quetzalcoatl, though the reality was different. In myth, Quetzalcoatl is the breath that animates life. He is the one who retrieved bones from Mictlan. When he moves as the wind, you can feel his presence in the cool breeze that lifts your hair or rustles corn leaves. When he appears as the morning star, he signals the dawn of a new day. He is knowledge and creativity, the inspiration that comes to a musician in the stillness of night, the idea that flares in an artisan's mind like a spark. In Templo Mayor, the great temple of Tenochtitlan, his cult is honored alongside Tezcatlipoca's, the two forces balanced in a duality that mirrors Ometeotl. To feel him near, listen to the rustle of feathers and the gentle sigh of wind through the cactus spines. If Tezcatlipoca embodies the unpredictable and Quetzalcoatl the gentle breath, Huitzilopochtli embodies fire and war. His name means hummingbird of the south. Picture a hummingbird, iridescent, moving at a speed that your eyes can barely follow. It beats its wings like a heart on fire. Huitzilopochtli was born on Totec, the Serpent Mountain. His mother, Coatlicue, the one who wears a skirt of snakes, was sweeping a temple one day when a ball of feathers fell from the sky. She placed the feathers in her bosom, and she conceived Huitzilopochtli. Her daughter, Quetzalcoatl, and her 400 star brothers, the Senson Huitznahua, were outraged at this mysterious pregnancy. They saw it as shameful. They plotted to kill their mother. Coatlicue knew nothing of their plan, but one of the brothers, Huitzilopochtli, overheard and whispered to the unborn Huitzilopochtli while still in the womb. When the attackers arrived with weapons drawn, the womb opened, and Huitzilopochtli emerged fully armed, shining with turquoise and feathers, wielding a fire serpent. In an instant he slew his siblings. He decapitated Quetzalcoatl and threw her head into the sky, where it became the moon. He chased his 400 brothers, who became stars scattered across the heavens. This myth is enacted in the sacred precinct at Tenochtitlan. The large stone disc depicting Quetzalcoatl lies at the base of the temple to Huitzilopochtli, a reminder of the cosmic struggle between the sun and the moon. To the Mexica, Huitzilopochtli was their protector, the deity who guided them from their legendary homeland, Aztlan, to the valley where they would build Tenochtitlan. He spoke to their priests, leading them to a vision of an eagle perched on a cactus with a snake in its beak, an image that became the center of their world, and later the symbol of Mexico. His voice was a hummingbird's hum turned to war cries. Yet he also had the fragility of a hummingbird. He needed sustenance. For the sun to rise each day, human hearts were offered. The Mexica believed that without feeding him, darkness would swallow the world. The blood of warriors and of those captured in battle flowed down the steps of his pyramid, staining stone red. These sacrifices were not acts of cruelty for cruelty's sake. They were seen as essential exchanges, an honorable duty to keep the cosmos in motion. Standing near Huitzilopochtli in the pantheon is Xipe Totec, our Lord the Flayed One. In imagery, Xipe Totec wears the skin of a sacrificial victim over his own body. The loose hands and feet of the flayed skin hang from his arms and legs, reminding one of the old being shed for the Ehina new. He is a god of agriculture and renewal. In spring, as crops push through the earth, he is present in the maize kernel losing its husk, in the snake shedding its skin. His festival, Tezcatlipoca, involves warriors fighting bound captives on a round stone platform. After the battle, the victims are sacrificed and their skins are removed. Priests wear these skins for 20 days, dancing, bringing fertility to the fields. It is shocking to modern sensibilities, yet within the Aztec worldview, this act symbolizes the earth putting on a new skin. Seeds cannot sprout without shedding their casings. The flaying of the victim ensures the renewal of the world. Think of peeling away old layers in your own life, of letting go of what is no longer needed, of stepping into a new season. That is Xipe Totec's lesson, delivered through ritual and image. He is red like new blood, and his color corresponds to the eastern direction, where the sun rises. When you see sunrise painting the horizon red, you may feel his presence. Tlaloc is the rain itself. He has goggle eyes and fangs. He carries a jar of water and a lightning bolt. His voice is thunder. He lives high in the mountains where clouds gather. From there, he pours water down onto valleys, filling lakes and rivers. When he is pleased, rains fall soft and nourishing. When angered, they become storms of hail and lightning that shatter crops. In early ruins like Teotihuacan, Tlaloc's mask is carved on temples. He predates the Mexica. His worship is ancient. It is believed that children were sacrificed to him, their tears echoing his reign. While this may seem harsh to the Aztecs, water was life, and life required appeasing the forces that controlled it. In Tlalocan, his paradise, those who died by lightning or water go to live among flowers and endless springs. There is no hunger there. It is a far cry from the dryness of some underworld realms. When you hear rain on your window at night, when you inhale that petrichor scent rising from soil, you are listening to Tlaloc's gift. He is in the drip of water from cave stalactites, in the flash of lightning that splits a dark cloud. He is revered and feared because water is both gentle and destructive. If Tlaloc is rain, Tezcatlipoca is the shimmering water itself. Her name means jade skirt. She is the goddess of rivers, lakes, and springs. In the myths, she becomes the fourth sun and floods the world with her tears. She is also a patroness of childbirth because water accompanies birth. Her temples have canals running through them, and her statues are often carved with serpents at her waist. When mothers pray for healthy births or farmers pray for full irrigation channels, they whisper to Tezcatlipoca. Her water glints green in the light, like polished jade. The sound of her streams is a lullaby. She is sometimes depicted with a headdress of paper banners which flutter like water ripples. Xochiquetzal is another facet of water and life, but hers is a realm of beauty and desire. Xochiquetzal means precious flower. She embodies youth, sexuality, poetry, and pleasure. Unlike other fertility goddesses who focus on procreation, Xochiquetzal delights in the act of love itself, in games, adornment, and song. Her hair is long and dark, adorned with fragrant flowers and quetzal feathers. She is the patroness of artisans who weave cloth and carve jade. She is also the protector of pregnant women. She once lived in Tamonchan, a paradise from which humanity was created. In some stories, she is abducted by Tezcatlipoca, forced to become his consort. In others, she is married to Tlaloc, and then to her son, Tlaloc. She moves through myths lightly, fragrant, and elusive. When the Aztecs hold festivals in her honor, men and women paint their faces, dance, and confess their desires. They offer copal and flowers instead of blood. To feel Xochiquetzal is to feel a gentle hand on your shoulder, a scent of jasmine in the air. She is in the first blush of love, in the blush of dawn, in the tenderness of a lover's whisper. Not all deities dwell in light and pleasure. Some preside over the shadows to which every life must eventually return. Tlaloc, Lord of Mictlan, rules over the 9 levels of the underworld. His skin is skeletal, his lips pulled back in a grin that shows every tooth. He wears a headdress of owl feathers, and spiders dwell at his side. He holds bones in his hands. His wife, Mictecatzihuatl, shares his throne. Together they watch the procession of souls entering their realm. According to belief, most people go to Mictlan when they die, unless their manner of death calls them elsewhere. Those who die by water go to Tlaloc. Warriors who die in battle or women who die in childbirth follow the sun. Infants who die too young go to a special tree in Xipe, where a milk-giving tree nourishes them until they can be reborn. The journey to Mictlan is arduous. The soul must cross a river on the back of a dog, climb mountains, pass between clashing rocks, and endure icy winds. It takes 4 years to reach the deepest level where Tezcatlipoca resides. He is not cruel, he is inexorable. He is the keeper of bones and the caretaker of spirits. People place a turquoise bead in the mouth of the dead to pay the fairy dog. They bury the dead with objects to assist them on their journey. To dream of a loved one after their death is to believe they have visited from Mictlan. It is said that the dead can hear the living, and the living can call them at special times. On the festival of Huitzilopochtli, little skeleton puppets dance to remind the living that death is part of life. On Dia de Muertos, later syncretized with Catholic All Souls Day, families decorate altars with marigolds and candles so that the dead can find their way home. In the deep of night, whispering to the dead is a way of acknowledging Tezcatlipoca's domain. He is the stillness that ends each heartbeat, the silence that comes after a song. Quetzalcoatl, the mother of gods, is both nurturing and terrifying. Her name means she of the serpent skirt. She is the earth itself, a body adorned with snakes and skulls, with sagging breasts that have nourished countless beings. Her face is often depicted as 2 serpents facing each other, representing the blood that spurted when she was decapitated, or the duality of life and death. She gave birth to the moon and stars, and later to Huitzilopochtli. Her statue is imposing. She stands with her arms bent, claws at her fingertips, skirts of writhing snakes, skulls around her neck, and snakes emerging from her severed neck, as if to show streams of blood turned to life. She personifies the earth as both womb and grave. You can feel her in the pressure of soil beneath your bare feet, in the way roots hold the ground together, in the hum of insects under leaves. She holds all who live and all who have died. When Aztec women gave birth, they were seen as warriors facing death, and so they prayed to Quetzalcoatl for strength. Her children's rebellion against her and their subsequent defeat echo the daily struggle between light and dark. Each dawn, when Huitzilopochtli rises and overpowers the moon and stars, he repeats the cosmic battle that saved his mother. With Coatlicue is her daughter, Coyolxauhqui, the painted with bells. Her story is intimately tied to the moon. Her defeat and dismemberment at the hands of her brother reflect the cycle of the lunar phases. If you stand at the Templo Mayor and look at the stone disc carved with her body, you see her dismembered limbs arranged around her head. She is not humiliated, but honored there. During certain ceremonies, the Mexica reenacted her death by beheading victims whose heads were impaled on Tzompantli racks. The interplay between her and Huitzilopochtli is not just violent, it is cosmic. The sun must defeat the moon each morning. The 400 star brothers are the Milky Way. They chase the sun across the sky only to be dispersed. The myth is both narrative and astronomical, instructive and sacred. Another figure in the Aztec pantheon is Xolotl, the twin of Quetzalcoatl. In some stories, he is a dog-headed god who guides the dead to Mictlan. He is the evening star, the twin of the morning star, representing dusk and death. He watches over the sunset the way his brother watches over dawn. Dogs were considered sacred to him, and to this day, the Mexican hairless dog, Xoloitzcuintli, is considered a link to the divine. Dogs were buried with the dead to guide them across rivers in the afterlife. Xolotl also presided over deformities and the maimed. In some myths, he sacrifices himself as part of the creation of the fifth sun. In others, he tries to hide when the gods need victims for sacrifice and is ultimately killed. He embodies the shadow of Quetzalcoatl, showing that light cannot exist without darkness, dawn without dusk. Beyond these well-known names lies a vast garden of divinity, each deity a flower or stone in a landscape the Mexica tended with reverence. One of the most striking conceptions in this cosmology is the arrangement of the universe itself. Imagine standing at the center of a vertical axis that pierces through multiple layers of existence. Above you rise 13 heavens, each layer housing different beings and energies, each level accessible only to gods and certain souls. The highest is Ometeotl, the dual abode of Ometeotl, a place so remote and serene that no living person can fully conceive it. Below that, the heavens descend like terraces, home to the rain gods, to the stars, to the clouds, each with their own gardens and palaces. There is the turquoise sky, where Quetzalcoatl as the morning star resides, the fire heavens where the souls of warriors travel with the sun, the paradise of Tlaloc, where water is endless and flowers never wilt. Beneath your feet, 9 layers of the underworld extend downward, each separated by trials. A river to cross, mountains that crash together, obsidian knives that threaten to cut, winds so cold they strip flesh. At the very bottom sits Mictlan, where skeletons rest and where Mictlantecutli and Mictecacihuatl sit upon thrones of bones. Between the heavens and the underworld is the plane we inhabit, Tlaltilocayotl, the surface of the earth shaped from Tlaltecutli's body. Here, mountains and lakes mirror the structure above. The Aztecs sometimes called this cosmic tree the axis mundi, connecting all realms. At its roots, the underworld; at its canopy, the heavens. Through its trunk flows the sap of life, rising and falling with each breath, with each prayer. The gods not yet mentioned whisper from the margins of myth. Tlazolteotl, the eater of filth, embodies the paradox of sin and purification. She is depicted with black around her mouth from eating the excrement of our misdeeds. She hears confessions, absolves sins, and devours them, turning our filth into fertility. When someone feels guilt, they may speak to her in the quiet of night, confessing their secrets. In her festival, people cleanse themselves, burn incense, and begin anew. She teaches that to be human is to err, and to grow is to acknowledge and release those errors. Her hair is long, often worn in 2 points that represent her dual role as temptation and absolution. She is mother to Cinteotl, the young maize god, who emerges from the earth with green leaves like hair. Cinteotl is slender and golden, carrying ears of corn. He dies every year when the maize is harvested, only to be reborn when seeds are planted. His life is cyclical, tied to the seasons. When the farmers sow corn, they speak his name softly, trusting that he will rise again from the dark soil. Each kernel planted is a burial and a promise. There is Huitzilopochtli, the old coyote, a trickster who plays his drum and sings in the night. He is playful, mischievous, an instigator of affairs and pranks. He may appear at the periphery of a gathering, tapping a rhythm that invites feet to move, even as his jokes disrupt order. His laughter is contagious, and his mischief reminds us that seriousness needs balance. He travels with his coyote family through the dry plains, nose to the wind, ears alert. To encounter him is to encounter unpredictability in a charming form. His lessons are to not take oneself too seriously, to find humor even when the world is difficult. yet he also warns that mischief can harm if taken too far. Huitzilopochtli, the obsidian butterfly, is a fierce warrior goddess. She is depicted with butterfly wings edged with obsidian blades, her eyes shining like stars. She presides over the Tzitzimimi, star demons who threaten to devour the world during eclipses. She lives in Tamuanchan, the paradise of creation, and she sits on a throne of jaguar skin and eagle feathers. During the day, she is as beautiful as a butterfly. At night, she becomes a skeletal creature flying through dark skies. She demands blood offerings and inspires awe. Her presence is felt when butterflies gather around flowers, but also when shadows move in the corner of your vision and you feel a prickling sense of being watched. There is also Mythology, the maguey goddess. She is depicted with many breasts, feeding her many children, the agave plants. She lives in a thicket of maguey, a spiky plant whose sap can be fermented to make pulque. Mytholog's story is one of freedom and escape. She once ran away with Quetzalcoatl, and together they hid as trees. But the Tzitzimime found them and tore her apart. From her remains grew the first maguey. Her children feed the people with nectar and fiber, giving rope, fabric, drink, and paper. When someone drinks pulque in moderation, they commune with her and with the gods. When they drink too much, they risk angering her. Mythology is gentle but wild, her hair a tangle of vines and her eyes bright. She teaches that sweetness can heal and that every plant has spirit. The pantheon contains countless more. Tonantzin, the mother goddess worshipped at Tepeyac. Xipe, the snake woman, who cries at night for her lost son. Tlaloc as the male aspect of the earth. Chalcutotlin, the jade turkey who can cleanse or infect. Ometeotl, the 2 rabbit gods of drunkenness. And the Tzentzon Totoctin, 400 rabbit deities that dance in pulque halls. Each deity has a story, a song, a festival. When one listens deeply, one hears a chorus of gods, each voice distinct. Together they form a symphony that underlies daily life. Let us leave the realm of myth for a moment to wander the world as the Mexica knew it. Picture Tenochtitlan at dawn. The city rises from a lake built on Chinampa's floating gardens that bloom with maize, beans, squash, and flowers. Canals cut through the city like blue ribbons, and people move along them in canoes. The great temple, the Templo Mayor, stands at the center, its twin pyramids reaching toward the sky, one dedicated to Tlaloc, the other to Huitzilopochtli. The first rays of the sun strike the blue and red temples, making them glow. Priests ascend the steps slowly, their bare feet touching cold stone, worn smooth by centuries. They carry incense burners, shells filled with copal resin, and as they walk, they scatter plumeria flowers on the steps. The scent of copal mixes with that of maize tortillas being cooked in nearby homes. Women kneel by the water, washing clothes, humming songs that speak of gods and lovers. Warriors sharpen obsidian blades, their minds focused. Children play in the streets, their laughter mixing with the calls of egrets flying over the lake. Markets open as vendors arrange offerings of cacao beans, chili peppers, rabbit pelts, obsidian knives, pottery, and turquoise. The atmosphere is both industrious and sacred. Every act, from grinding maize to carrying water, is a prayer in motion. The Mexica are not the only people in this valley. There are also the Texcocans, the Tepanecs, the Chalca, and many other tribes with their own patron gods and traditions. They are bound together, and sometimes in conflict. Flower wars are fought not to conquer territory, but to capture warriors for sacrifice. These battles are both political and religious. They supply hearts for Huitzilopochtli and maintain alliances. When a prisoner is brought to the temple, he is not humiliated. He is honored. He wears fine clothing and feathered headdresses. He ascends the steps and lies upon a curved stone. The priest lifts an obsidian blade. As the blade enters the chest and the heart is raised to the sun, drums beat and conch shells blow. The crowd chants, and the prisoner's soul is believed to join the sun's entourage. In this moment, the living and the dead, the gods and the people, the sky and the earth, all come together. The ball game, Ulimalistli, echoes this cosmic dance. Two teams face each other on a court shaped like a capital Y. The stone walls are high, with stone rings set vertically near the middle. Players wear padding, and they strike a heavy rubber ball with their hips, thighs, and forearms. The ball cannot touch their hands or feet. To get the ball through the ring is almost impossible, yet when it happens, the crowd erupts in cheers. The game is not mere sport. It represents the struggle between day and night, between life and death. Sometimes the ball stands for the sun, sometimes for the moon. The players are like gods, hitting the ball back and forth, ensuring that the cycles continue. In some ceremonies, the losers are sacrificed, their hearts offered, ensuring that the sun will not stall. The ball game court becomes a portal where earth meets the underworld, where the bounce of a ball becomes thunder, where the weight of the ball is like the weight of time. As day turns to evening, the colors over Tenochtitlan shift. The lake glows orange, and then indigo. Fishermen pull their canoes up to shore. Priests prepare for the next set of rituals. At the calm of twilight, women light small fires in their homes and place maize cakes on griddles. Men return from fields and marketplaces, their arms full of goods. Children chase fireflies along the canals. The smell of cooking fills the narrow streets. In the calm, the voices of elders telling stories weave through the air. They speak of Huitzilopochtli, guiding their ancestors out of a cave in Aztlan, of the long migration south, of following signs like the eagle on the cactus, of wars and alliances, of gods who intervene, of love stories that end tragically, and of heroes who ascend to the stars. The night is alive with narrative. The Mexica pay attention to omens and signs. The flight of birds, the cries of jaguars, the way the wind moves can all indicate a deity's favor or displeasure. Each day has a name, part of the ritual calendar. The ritual calendar consists of 20-day signs and 13 numbers, combining to create a cycle of 260 days. Each day sign has a symbol and a patron. The first day sign is Xipe, the crocodile, representing beginnings and supported by Tonacatecutli, the creator father. Ejecuatl, the wind, follows, its sign a stylized mask, its patron the gentle aspect of Quetzalcoatl. Then comes Cali, the house, associated with Tepeyollotl, the jaguar of the mountains. Quetzalcoatl, the lizard, moves with Huehuecoyotl's mischief. Coatl, the serpent, winds under Chicomecoatl's nurturing presence. Miquistli, death, is watched over by Tezcatlipoca, the moon. Mazatl, the deer, belongs to Tlaloc. Tochtli, the rabbit, is under Mayahuel. Atl, the water, runs with Chalchiutlicue. Itzcuintli, the dog, is guided by Xolotl. Ozomatli, the monkey, leaps with Xochipilli's artistry. Malinali, the grass, grows under Patacatl, father of Mayahuel. Acatl, the reed, sways with Tezcatlipoca's breath. Ocolotl, the jaguar, stalks with Tlazolteotl. Cuautli, the eagle, soars with Xipe Totec. Coscacuatli, the vulture, cleanses with Itzpapalotl. Olin, movement, pulses with Xolotl or Nanahuatzin. Tecpatl, the flint knife, shines with Mictlantecutli. Cayahuatl, the rain, pours. With Tlaloc and Xochitl, flower, blooms with Xochiquetzal. Each combination of number and sign guides daily rituals and personal destinies. The priests interpret these signs to advise on marriages, planting, journeys, and war. A child born on a day of Tlaloc and number 9 may be guided toward a life of farming or water rituals. A leader may consult the calendar to find an auspicious day for an alliance. The rhythm of these 260 days overlays the solar year, creating a pattern of meaning. When the numbers and symbols align, there is the potential for great change. Beyond the day signs are the 18 months of the solar year, each with 20 days. Each month has its own festival. In the month of Atlcahualo, children are sacrificed to appease Tlaloc and ensure rain. In Tlacaxipehualistli, the flaying ritual to Xipe Totec occurs. Tezcatl sees the selection of a young man who will embody Tezcatlipoca for a year, living lavishly before being sacrificed. In the 4th month, Huitzilopochtli, the Great Vigil, elders fast and pray. Each festival is preceded by days of preparation body painting, weaving of costumes, rehearsals of dances, the crafting of effigies. Participation is not limited to priests. The entire community contributes. There are songs for each festival, with lyrics that repeat the deeds of the gods. People learn these songs from childhood. They are poetic, often composed of metaphors for flowers and jade, allusions to clouds and hummingbirds. Singing them is both memory and offering. The chants create resonance in stone courtyards and reed-roofed houses alike. Hearing them late at night, you feel transported to a time when the gods themselves danced among mortals. We may also turn our attention to daily ritual. Every morning before eating, a person might offer a pinch of food to the hearth fire. This simple act acknowledges the deities of fire and sustenance. When craftsmen begin work, they thank the patron of their craft painters, to Xochipilli, stonecutters, to Xipe Totec, goldsmiths, to Xochiquetzal. When midwives deliver babies, they speak to Xochiquetzal and Tlazolteotl, imploring them to guide the child. They bury the child's umbilical cord in the threshold of the house if the baby is a girl, so she will be rooted to home, or in the battlefield if he is a boy, so he will be brave. When merchants set out on distant journeys, they pray to Tlacatecutli, the Lord of the Nose, who guides their path. When fishermen throw nets into the lake, they call to Tlaloc. Life is a sequence of small rituals that weave into large ceremonies. We cannot speak of Aztec religion without mentioning the concept of Teotl, which permeates everything. Teotl is not exactly God. It is energy, sacredness, a vital force that flows through all beings. It infuses the stone of the temples, the water in the canals, the breath in your lungs. The gods are personifications of Teotl in different forms. Humans, animals, plants, mountains, all are forms of Teotl. To live, well, is to harmonize with Teotl, to recognize its flow, to dance with it. When priests cut open a chest and raise a heart to the sun, they are releasing Teotl back to its source. When a craftsman carves an image in jade, he reveals Teotl within the stone. When a mother sings to her baby, her voice is Teotl's soothing Teotl. This worldview makes the boundaries between sacred and mundane thin. To an outsider, it may appear that the Mexica have many gods, but to them, all gods are facets of one sacred force. As we drift deeper into the night, we can reflect on the ways the Aztec world understood fate and human life. The ritual calendar and day signs are not deterministic in a rigid sense. They provide tendencies, possibilities. A person born on a day with a strong sign may have a particular talent, but they must still cultivate it. Fate is a weaving of threads, divine influence, ancestral heritage, personal effort. Dreams are also important. They are seen as journeys where the soul temporarily leaves the body. Dreamers might see gods or ancestors. They may receive messages. The morning after, dream interpreters listen to the dream and suggest actions, offerings to make, tasks to undertake. A dream of drowning could mean Tlaloc seeks attention. A dream of being chased could mean the person has offended Tezcatlipoca. Through dreams, the boundaries between worlds thin. We might ask, why such a focus on sacrifice, on blood? In the Aztec worldview, blood is precious water. It is chalchiutli, jade, the most valuable substance. The heart, teolia, is the seat of a person's life force. Blood and hearts feed the gods because the gods themselves sacrificed to create the world. In myths, gods cut themselves to make rivers, to give maize, to form humans. Offering blood is reciprocity. Without it, The sun may not rise, rain may not fall, crops may wither. On a deep level, these rituals reinforce communal bonds. They remind each person that their life is part of a larger cosmic community. Even those sacrificed may be honored. They are chosen, prepared, and celebrated. They ascend to become part of a divine retinue. The Aztec word for sacrificing someone is nextlahuali, payment of a debt. This concept of debt is not guilt, but responsibility. We owe the gods because they gave us life. We owe each other because we share in life. Sacrifice is a way of balancing accounts in a universe where nothing is free. To relax into this understanding, imagine walking at night along a causeway that connects Tenochtitlan to the lakeshore. The moon is full, Coyolxauhqui watching. The city's lights flicker like stars reflecting on water. Crickets chirp in the reeds. Your feet feel the smoothness of basalt. You hold a small clay lamp. In the distance you hear drums. A ceremony is in progress. The rhythm is steady, like a heartbeat. You know that on the pyramid, priests in feathered cloaks are chanting to Huitzilopochtli, raising hearts to the sky. You know that somewhere, a child's cry signals a birth, attended by midwives who sing to Xipe. You know that in a market, someone is bartering cacao for jade. You know that the dead are crossing rivers in Mictlan. You know that the stars are turning in their courses. All of these happenings occur at once, woven into a tapestry. You feel small and vast at the same time. You inhale the scent of lake water and burning copal. The calm of the night seeps into your bones. A gentle breeze brushes your cheek, perhaps the breath of Quetzalcoatl. You close your eyes and feel the heartbeat of the cosmos aligning with your own. Back near the temples, the priests prepare for dawn. This is their moment to invite the sun back. They wear sandals of woven grass, their hair bound in knots. They hold obsidian blades and bowls to catch blood. Their bodies are painted with sacred designs, spirals and flowers. Their arms and legs are scarred from previous sacrifices. The scars are badges of devotion. When the first light pinkens the eastern horizon, a conch shell sounds. The priests open their chests, offering their own blood. Their faces are serene. The sun disk emerges over the mountains, Huitzilopochtli rising victorious again. The people gathered below raise their hands, tears in their eyes, some from exhaustion, some from awe. They feel the warmth of the first rays on their faces. They thank the gods for another day. This ritual repeats daily, echoing the moment after Nanahuatzin leapt into the fire. It is a microcosm of cosmic order kept through human action. The Mexica were also poets, and their songs survive in manuscripts. One poet king, Nezahualcoyotl of Texcoco, wrote verses that speak of flowers, dreams, and the fragility of life. In one poem he says that we are like butterflies who live only a day. He asks where we go after we die. In another, he compares our hearts to precious cups that are filled and emptied by time. These poems reveal a contemplative side of a culture often stereotyped for violence. They show awareness of impermanence and a longing for beauty. When you recite these verses silently to yourself, feel the softness and the depth. Consider also the artisans. Feather workers, a manteca, create cloaks and headdresses from quetzal feathers, hummingbird plumes, and toucan bills. Their art is light as air, shimmering with greens and blues. They whisper prayers to Xochiquetzal and to Ometeotl as they bind feathers with agave fiber. Their studios are filled with baskets of plumes and shells. Goldsmiths melt metal in small clay ovens, shaping tiny birds and jaguars. Stone carvers chip at basalt and jade, releasing forms of deities and animals. Basket weavers gather reeds from the lake and weave them into patterns. Weavers create cotton garments dyed with cochineal red and indigo blue. Each craft is sacred because it transforms raw material into something with meaning. Each piece can become an offering, a tribute, an item in a ritual. When you imagine a museum filled with Aztec artifacts, do not see them as static. Imagine the hands that made them, the songs sung while weaving, the prayers whispered over beads. The sacred and the mundane are entwined even in the system of governance. The emperor, the Huitzilopochtli, literally great speaker, does not rule alone. He is assisted by the Quetzalcoatl, the snake woman who acts as an internal administrator. He is elected by nobles and must prove his worth in war. He leads armies carrying the fire serpent of Huitzilopochtli. He performs rituals, oversees markets, adjudicates disputes. He must be both warrior and priest. Below him, Kalpuli leaders manage neighborhoods. There is a hierarchy, but it is balanced by obligations. Nobles must give to the poor. Merchants must pay tribute. Warriors must fight and sometimes die. Every role is part of the cosmic machine. The arrival of the Spaniards in the early 16th century brings profound change. For the Aztecs, it appears as though prophecies are being fulfilled. The year first read, Tezcatlipoca, is when Quetzalcoatl promised to return. When pale men with beards arrive with horses and metal, some think the time has come. Moctezuma II, the emperor, sends gifts of gold and feathered cloaks. He invites the newcomers to Tenochtitlan. The Spaniards marvel at the city's beauty, at its markets filled with goods from across Mesoamerica. They smell the flowers, taste cacao, listen to drums. But soon misunderstandings and greed lead to conflict. The temples are desecrated, idols toppled, people slaughtered, diseases like smallpox spread, decimating the population. The Mexica resist fiercely. Cuauhtémoc, the last emperor, fights until he is captured. The world changes irrevocably, yet the old stories persist. They hide in the words of elders, in the weaving patterns, in the rhythms of songs. They later merge with Christian imagery, giving rise to the Virgin of Guadalupe at Tepeyac, a form of Tonantzin. They become part of Day of the Dead altars, of dances like the Danza de los Voladores, where men climb a pole and spin downward like birds. The gods do not vanish, they transform. As the threads of our narrative continue, let us return to a time long before the conquistadors appeared on the horizon, to the era of wandering and seeking. The Mexica, who would later build Tenochtitlan, did not always live in the Valley of the Lakes. They came from a place far to the north called Aztlan, the place of herons. In this mythic homeland, the land is marshy and full of waterfowl. The people live in caves and on islands. Huitzilopochtli speaks to them through priests, telling them that they must leave. He says they are chosen to found a great city, but first they must wander. And so they gather their few possessions, their children and elders, their bundles of sacred objects. They paint their faces and arms with white chalk. They carry poles adorned with hummingbird feathers, banners that flutter in the wind. They begin to walk. They leave behind the easy, sweet waters of Aztlan and enter deserts. Days of walking turn to years. They camp by cactus fields, by rivers, on mountain slopes. They plant and harvest only to pack up again. They face hunger, thirst, attacks from other tribes. They are sometimes taken as serfs or slaves by more powerful neighbors. Huitzilopochtli assures them that this hardship is part of their destiny, that it will make them strong. Along the way, they stop at Cotepec, where their patron is born. They fight and are expelled. They see signs that they misread. They see eagles perching, but not on the right cactus. They settle temporarily and build small temples, but Huitzilopochtli whispers that this is not yet the place. Their journey is like a long dream, with days marked by the rising and setting of suns, by the crossing of rivers, by births and deaths. Children are born on the road and learn to walk on dusty paths. Elders die and are buried by roadways, their souls continuing the journey in another realm. The people sing to pass the time. They tell stories around fires at night, their breath misting and cold. They see new landscapes, mountains covered with pine trees, canyons carved by rivers, vast plains filled with deer and coyotes, cactus forests with spiny arms reaching for the sky. They learn to survive in each new environment, to find water where there seems to be none. They make allies and enemies. They carry with them the memory of Aztlan and the promise of the eagle on the cactus. Years pass, perhaps centuries. At last they arrive in the valley of Anahuac, where 5 lakes spread their shimmering surfaces beneath mountains. The valley is already populated by powerful cities like Texcoco, Tlacopan, and Azcapotzalco. The Mexica are allowed to settle on the barren island of Tizapan on the shores of Lake Texcoco, a place full of snakes. They eat the snakes and survive. Huitzilopochtli tells them to continue. One day, as they paddle across the lake in their reed boats, they see an island with a nopal cactus growing from a rock. Upon the cactus sits an eagle with wings spread wide, feathers shining. In its beak is a serpent. The eagle's talons grip the cactus, which bursts with red fruit. The bird's gaze meets theirs. This is the sign. They hear Huitzilopochtli whisper, "This is the place." They are filled with awe. The island is small and marshy, but they begin to build. They sink stakes into the mud. They weave mats and lay them as foundations. They pile earth onto mats, creating chinampas, floating plots anchored by willow trees. They build causeways connecting island to shore. They dredge canals. They lay out streets according to celestial directions. They build a small temple to Huitzilopochtli and to Tlaloc, side by side, acknowledging that war and rain are both necessary. Over generations, Tenochtitlan grows. Its grid of canals and streets becomes a labyrinth of life. It becomes the center of an empire. Yet its foundation remains the story of an eagle on a cactus, a people wandering until they found their sign. In modern Mexico, this image is on the flag. The story is woven into the national identity. When you see that symbol, remember the long migration, the long nights, the whispered words of a god guiding his people through landscapes both harsh and beautiful. Let us now travel beyond the horizontal plane of the earth and back into the vertical dimensions of the Aztec cosmos. We touched on the 13 heavens and 9 underworlds earlier, but we did not linger. Imagine ascending from the human realm, climbing through layers of air and light. The first heaven above the earth is a place where eagles fly and clouds gather, a realm of birds and mists. Here, Tlaloc's couriers, the Tlaloc, keep jars of water that they pour down as rain. When thunder cracks, it is their jar breaking. Above that is the heaven where the stars reside, shining points of light that move in patterns watched by astronomer priests. The Milky Way swirls there, a dusted path for spirits. Another heaven is filled with jaguars and birds of fire, a twilight zone where dusk and dawn meet. Higher still are heavens of colored light, one yellow like maize pollen, another red like evening clouds, another green like jade. Each is inhabited by different beings, spirits of warriors, butterflies, wise ancestors. There is a heaven where the souls of women who died in childbirth accompany the sun from noon to sunset, their cries encouraging him to continue. There is a heaven where children who died young chase dragonflies. There is a heaven where corn plants stand tall, leaves whispering songs. At the very top is Ometeotl, the dual heaven, serene and beyond change, where Ometeotl resides. Here, there is no suffering, no movement, only balance. One cannot describe it fully. It is beyond human experience. In art, it might be represented by an empty space or by 2 faces merging into one. When you gaze at the night sky and feel a sense of vastness, you are touching the idea of these heavens. When you dream of flying, you may be remembering a climb up the cosmic tree. Now descend gently into the underworld. The journey begins after death. Family members dress the body in paper and cotton, place a turquoise bead in its mouth and a dog by its side. The spirit leaves the body, following the dog along a path that leads downward. The first level is a river. The dog, perhaps a Xipe, swims carrying the soul on its back. If the soul treated dogs well in life, the dog happily helps. If not, the dog may refuse. Across this river lies a plain where winds blow strong. Sharp stones litter the ground, cutting feet. The soul continues. Two mountains approach each other and crash together and pull apart. The soul must time its passage carefully to avoid being crushed. Further on, there is a place where the path is lined with obsidian knives pointed outward, glinting in the dim light. The soul must navigate without being pierced. There is a hill of spears, a place of freezing winds that strip the flesh, a desert where jaguars live and devour hearts. At each level, the soul is stripped of what it no longer needs: flesh, feelings, memories. The journey is not punishment, it is purification. After 4 years of travel, the soul arrives at the 9th level, Mictlan proper. Here, all that is left is essence, the pure bone of existence. Mictlantecutli and Mictecacihuatl greet the soul. They are not malevolent, they simply preside. The soul rests, merging with the bone heap, waiting until the cycle brings it forth again. This underworld journey emphasizes that death is not instant, but process. It is also social. The dog is a companion. The family sends offerings. The living talk to the dead, and the dead listen. When you leave food on an altar for your ancestors, you are sending them sustenance for their journey. While the souls journey below, life continues above, and in the realm of the living, children are taught their roles. 2 institutions prepare them, the Kalmakak and the Tezcatlipoca. In the Kalmakak, noble children study astronomy, poetry, theology, governance, and warfare. They wake before dawn to sweep the temple, carrying bundles of reeds on their backs as a lesson in humility. They learn to fast, to endure hardship. They memorize songs and prayers. They practice with spears and shields. They are taught to speak elegantly, to judge fairly. In the Tezcatlipoca, commoner children, mostly boys, learn how to farm, how to fish, how to carry goods, and how to fight. They too wake early, carrying firewood, serving older warriors. They practice throwing darts and using the Atlatl, a spear thrower. They learn war songs and the meaning of bravery. Girls learn at home, guided by mothers and aunts. They learn to spin cotton, to weave, to cook, to bear children, to manage households, to craft pottery. They learn songs and prayers as well. Education is not separate from religion. To learn is to learn about the gods. Children are reminded constantly of their obligations. They are told proverbs. A child is like a precious jade. Do not drop it, for if it breaks, it cannot be mended. Discipline can be strict. A boy who is lazy may be pricked with maguey spines or forced to inhale chilly smoke. These practices instill endurance and a sense of purpose. When you imagine an Aztec child, do not imagine them unsmiling. They play ball, climb trees, learn dances. They also know that they are part of something larger than themselves. Food and drink are central to daily life and ritual. We have spoken of maize, beans, and amaranth, but not of the plant that brings intoxication and communion, the maguey. This succulent stores sweet sap in its heart. When the plant matures after many years, the heart is cut and the liquid collected. This aguamiel ferments into pulque, a thick, milky beverage. Pulque is sacred. It is drunk slowly in feasts dedicated to Ometeotl, the 2-rabbit god, and the Kenson Totoctin, the 400 rabbit spirits of drunkenness. Each rabbit has a different personality. One makes you laugh, another makes you weep, another makes you dance wildly, another makes you fall asleep. During a feast, the pulque flows from large clay jars into bowls. People sing to Mayahuel, thanking her. They drink and feel themselves lightening, their tongues loosening. They paint their faces with rabbit symbols. They dance in circles, arms raised. They recite poems. Elders tell stories. The moment may feel chaotic, but it is structured. There are rules about who can drink and how much. The gods are present in the bowl. Drinking is not every day. It is reserved for certain times. To abuse pulque is to anger the rabbits. But to drink properly is to open one's heart, to speak truth, to commune. Imagine being in a pulqueria at dusk, with candles flickering, hearing laughter and singing, smelling the sweet yeasty scent of the drink. The night is soft, and the world feels benevolent. The world is oriented in 4 directions. Each direction has a color, a tree, a bird, a god. The east is red and associated with Xipe Totec. It is the direction of sunrise, of new beginnings, of flayed skins revealing new growth. Its bird is the Quetzal, its tree the red cedar. The south is blue and belongs to Huitzilopochtli. It is where midday sun blazes, where heat and war dwell. Its bird is the hummingbird, its tree the prickly pear, its energy quick and fierce. The west is white and the domain of Quetzalcoatl. It is where the sun descends, where rain clouds gather, where the ancestors walk. Its bird is the heron, its tree the willow. The north is black and the realm of Tezcatlipoca. It is associated with night, with sorcery, with jaguars whose coats gleam under starlight. Its bird is the raven, its tree the pine. At the center is green and belongs to Xipe, the lord of fire, also known as Ometeotl, the old god. He sits at the hearth, at the center of homes, at the center of the cosmos. His fire warms food, lights incense, keeps wild animals away. In the new fire ceremony, a priest, representing Xipe, draws fire with a drill on the chest of a sacrificial victim. The new flame is then carried to light household hearths. In this, we see how the directions and colors structure both space and time. If you ever stand in a desert at dawn and watch the horizon turn from dark to red, you may feel you are watching Xipe Totec paint the sky. If you stand in the shade of a pine forest at night, listening to owls, you may feel Tezcatlipoca's breath on your neck. If you feel the warmth of a hearth on a cold night, Xipe is present. Another tale woven through the cosmos is that of Mixcoatl, the cloud serpent. Mixcoatl is a hunting god, father of 400 southern stars, and of Quetzalcoatl in some versions. He appears as a man with face painted half red, half white, carrying a bow and arrow. He taught people how to hunt deer. He is associated with the Milky Way, which the Aztecs saw as a celestial serpent. In one myth, Mixcoatl falls in love with a woman who is a star. They meet at dusk and embrace. She becomes pregnant with quadruplets, the directions. But Mixcoatl's brothers, jealous, kill her and cut her into pieces that become parts of the earth. Mixcoatl goes into mourning, wandering as a hunter. His children take on his legacy. Quetzalcoatl becomes creator and teacher. The 400 boys become stars. Mixcoatl's arrow is lightning. His breath is the wind that moves clouds. On nights when the Milky Way is bright, one can imagine him stretching across the sky, his body a trail of light. Hunters pray to him before entering the forest, asking for speed and sight. Huitzilopochtli, the Fire Lord, is both old and young. He is often depicted as an elderly man with a black face and a turban of turquoise mosaic, sitting cross-legged, hands resting on knees. Sometimes he has a youthful form with a turquoise beard. He lives in the hearth at the center of each home and in volcanoes. He is the embodiment of life energy. He warms meals and warms hearts. He is called Huitzilopochtli, the old god, because he has existed since before the sun. He is present at births and at death. In the festival of Izcalli, images of Xipe are fashioned from amaranth seeds and honey, adorned with feathers and precious stones. These images are offered maize and tamales. At the end of the festival, the images are eaten, symbolizing the consumption of fire. The new fire ceremony occurs every 52 years at the start of a new cycle. As we described, all fires are extinguished. The city sits in darkness, and a priest representing Xipe climbs a sacred hill. At midnight, he lights a new flame in a sacrificial victim's chest cavity. Runners carry this fire to all corners of the empire. People watch anxiously. If the fire does not catch, the world may end. When it does catch, a sigh of relief sweeps the valley. People renew their hearths, mend their tools, start new lives. Huitzilopochtli embodies continuity through renewal. His warmth is both physical and spiritual. Now, when you sit by a campfire and watch flames dance, think of the Fire Lord speaking through them. Speaking of renewal, the agricultural calendar not only dictates planting and harvesting, but also spiritual tasks. There are festivals for flowers, for corn tassels, for water, for fire, for the plucking of quails. The month of Quetzalcoatl is when frogs are honored. People wade into canals calling to frogs with whistles. They believe frogs' croaks call rains. In the month of Tezcatlipoca, the little festival of lords, noble women dance in shells and jewels, offering flowers to Xochiquetzal. In Tlaxochimaco, the offering of flowers, people make garlands and wreaths of marigolds and place them on altars. The fragrance fills the air. In Huitzilopochtli, the great festival of lords, there is a mock battle where warriors representing captive kings fight on boats in the lake, splashing water at each other. In Xocotlhuetzi, the fall of fruit, people climb a tall, greased pole to retrieve a bag of amaranth seeds at the top. Each festival involves communal participation. Children rehearse dances for weeks. Women cook special dishes like amaranth tamales and honey cakes. Men carve wood into masks and carve large papier-mâché figures. On the days of the festivals, they paint their faces with symbolic designs, waves for water, rays for sun, flowers for fertility. The festivals mark the turning of seasons, not just in weather, but in social life. They bring excitement and also predictability. Each year, as certain birds arrive or certain stars rise, the community knows which festival is next. In this way, time is embodied and celebrated. We should also listen to the whispers of the Nahualli, those individuals who can transform into animals. In the Nahua worldview, each person has an animal counterpart connected by shared fate. Shamans and sorcerers called Nahualli can consciously enter dreams and become their animal self, perhaps a jaguar, an owl, a coyote, or a dog. They travel at night, leaving their human body in a trance. Their animal form acts in the world, affecting people and events. The Nahualli is feared and respected. They can heal or harm, bring rain or drought, comfort the dying, or steal vitality. Stories tell of a Nahualli who turned into a turkey to spy on a neighboring village, or of one who became a dog to steal maize from a field. To become a Nahualli requires rigorous training fasting, smoking tobacco, using hallucinogenic mushrooms or morning glory seeds, meditating in caves. It involves facing fears, crossing into the other realm, learning the languages of animals and plants. In dreams, the Nahualli receives instructions from the gods. In waking life, they interpret omens. When villagers see an unusual animal at night, they whisper among themselves, wondering if it is a neighbor's Nahualli. The concept reminds us that identity is fluid and that humans are deeply connected to non-human life. The cosmos is also filled with patterns of light and shadow, known as eclipses. When the sun is swallowed or the moon is bitten, the Mexica feel great urgency. They believe that at such times, the Tzitzimime, the star demons led by Huitzilopochtli, descend to attack the world. People gather in plazas, shouting, clanging pottery, shooting arrows skyward to scare away the demons. Women clasp their thumbs with their other fingers to protect their unborn children. Priests burn copal and cut themselves. The fear is palpable, but as the light returns, there is immense relief. The world has survived another assault. Eclipses thus reinforce the precarious balance of the cosmos. They remind everyone that nothing is guaranteed, that vigilance and ritual are necessary. Across these stories and rituals, there is a thread of resilience. The Mexica build their city on a lake, a place deemed uninhabitable by others, and transform it into a capital of art and architecture. They create calendars that integrate astronomical observation with spiritual meaning. They develop writing systems of pictographs and glyphs to record lineage and tribute. They build causeways with removable bridges that protect the city from invasion. They create chinampas that produce abundant crops year-round. They compose songs that balance joy and sorrow. Their worldview acknowledges pain and death, but also beauty and love. They see themselves as participants in a cosmic drama, not as victims. Their gods are not distant. They are present in every wind and stone. Their rituals are not mindless. They are acts of co-creation. This resilience is part of why their stories endure. They remind us that even when a way of life is destroyed, its songs can persist in whispered prayers, in carved stones, in the stories that parents tell children at bedtime. There are still more beings to meet, more aspects of this cosmos to understand. Ometeotl is one of these. His name means left-handed, and he is a god of fishermen and bird catchers. He is said to have invented the harpoon and the net. On the shores of the lakes, men and women throw nets into water, their movements fluid, the net unfurling like a flower on the water's surface. Ometeotl guides their hands so that fish, axolotls, and waterfowl are caught. He teaches where to set snares for herons and pelicans. His festival sees people dancing with nets draped over their shoulders, singing songs with rhythms like paddling strokes. In the calm of dawn, you can hear the splashes of nets and imagine Ometeotl watching, his left hand weaving abundance from the lake. Quetzalcoatl is another, the god of healing and pulque. He is often depicted carrying a vessel of medicinal herbs. He and Mythology are parents to the Tenzon Totochtin. Quetzalcoatl teaches the use of plants like peyote, morning glory seeds, and tobacco for healing and for communication with gods. He whispers to healers the names of plants and their uses. An elder healer mixes mashed leaves with water, murmuring Quetzalcoatl's name, applying the paste. To a wound, the patient feels warmth spreading, pain easing. Quetzalcoatl is also in the fermentation process, in the bubbling of pulque. He is the life in the drink. In his honor, healers fast and abstain, then hold ceremonies where they drink and share knowledge. In the smell of crushed herbs and the bitter taste of medicine, Quetzalcoatl is present. Ixtlilton is the gentle god of healing and sleep. He is portrayed as a child with black paint around his eyes, carrying a shield with a 5-petaled flower. He resides in a temple where sick people come to sleep. Priests sing lullabies, burn incense, and pray to Ixtlilton. They believe that in sleep the god visits, bringing health and calm dreams. Mothers whisper his name when laying children to rest. He governs sweet dreams and the quiet that heals. When you feel a balm in the dark, a sense of protection as you drift into sleep, Ixtlilton may be near. Tlaloc is the lord of merchants. He carries a staff and has a nose like a hook to smell out opportunities. Merchants, or Pochteka, set out on long journeys across mountains and deserts to trade cacao, jade, cotton, feathers, shells, copper bells, and obsidian. Before departure, they gather in their guild house. They tie bundles of their goods, and they tie themselves together with ropes, vowing to stay united. They pray to Tezcatlipoca, asking for safe travels, fair trade, and strong legs. They offer incense and pulque. On their journey, they move in single file along narrow paths, carrying heavy packs. They sleep on the ground, trusting Tezcatlipoca to ward off thieves and wild animals. They negotiate with foreign leaders, learning new languages. They return with tales of coasts where conch shells litter beaches, of mountains where snow never melts, of jungles where monkeys swing overhead. They bring back new stories, new songs, new gods. Tezcatlipoca is in the long road, in the calloused feet, in the clinking of copper bells in a market. Without trade, the Mexica economy would falter. With trade, it expands. The merchants' journeys link distant lands, weaving a web of relations. Tochi, the grandmother, is an elder aspect of the earth goddess. She is sometimes called Tetuinan, mother of the gods. She is depicted with wrinkled face, flayed cheeks, and a headdress of cotton spindles. She presides over midwives, curers, and steam baths. In the Temazcal, the steam bath, women and men sweat out sickness, pray to Tochi, and feel rejuvenated. She is also present in warfare. Some say she transformed into Selanin, the young maize goddess, to provide food. Others see her in the blood of victims, fertile and red. Midwives call upon her when delivering babies, telling newborns that they have fought a war in their mother's body and emerged victorious. When you sit near an elderly grandmother who tells stories with warmth and firmness, you may be sensing Tochi's spirit. It is also important to understand how the Mexica perceive the soul. For them, the human essence is not a single entity, but composed of three parts. The tonali resides in the head. It is heat, energy, linked to the day sign and the person's destiny. It can leave the body in fright or sleep and return. If it leaves permanently, the person becomes dull. The Teolia is in the heart. It is consciousness, memory, the seat of emotions and moral character. When sacrificed, the heart offered to the sun is the Teolia. It goes to the house of the sun, or to Tlalocan, or Mictlan, depending on fate. The Ometeotl is in the liver. It is breath, passion, anger. It can wander at night, causing harm if not controlled. Healers work to balance these. They may massage the head to strengthen the tonali, offer incense to calm the Ometeotl, counsel to align the Teolia. This tripartite soul concept recognizes the complexity of human being. It acknowledges that people can be brave in heart but weak in energy, or filled with passion but lacking will. When you feel your head warm when inspired, or your chest tighten with emotion, you're experiencing your own tonali and Teolia. The flower wars, Xochiaoyotl, are another facet of Mexica life. These are ritualized battles fought between the Mexica and neighboring states like Tlaxcala and Huitzilopochtli. The purpose is not conquest, but the capture of warriors for sacrifice. The wars are arranged in advance. Both sides agree on a time and place. Warriors dress in their finest costumes with cotton armor, feathered headdresses, shields painted with personal emblems. They paint their faces with symbols of their gods. They arrive on the battlefield with drums and conch shells. They dance and shout, calling upon Huitzilopochtli. The battle begins with volleys of darts and stones. Then warriors close in with obsidian clubs called macuahuitl. They aim not to kill, but to incapacitate. They grapple, wrestle, throw. They capture opponents by pulling them to the ground and binding their arms. The captured warriors are then taken to the temples. They are fed, honored, and at the proper time, sacrificed. The flower wars thus provide a steady supply of hearts for the sun. For the warriors, being captured and sacrificed is considered honorable. When a warrior captures 4 opponents, he earns the right to wear the eagle or jaguar costume and join an elite order. The flower wars also provide training, keeping warriors sharp. They create bonds between city-states, bonds of shared ritual violence. They are a form of diplomacy in the guise of conflict. In them, the line between war and ceremony blurs. Watching from a hilltop, you might see the glint of feathers and obsidian, hear the clash of shields and the rhythmic chants, smell sweat and dust, feel both dread and reverence. To be born into this world is to enter a battlefield. The Aztecs see life as a constant struggle against chaos. Birth is compared to war. When a woman goes into labor, she is a warrior fighting a battle. Midwives, or Tlamatl gather around, offering words of encouragement. They tell the laboring woman, "Be brave, be strong, fight like our warriors on the battlefield." They carry obsidian knives to cut the umbilical cord and to defend against malevolent spirits. They burn herbs like sage and copal to purify the space. The newborn is greeted with ritual words. If a boy, the midwife places a tiny shield and arrow in his hands and says, "Here is your shield, here is your arrow. You will guard your home, defend your people." If a girl, she places a weaving shuttle and a broom and says, Here is your weaving shuttle, here is your broom. You will keep your home, feed your people. After a few days, the newborn's umbilical cord is buried. For boys, it is buried in a battlefield or near a temple. For girls, it is buried by the hearth. In this way, from the first moments of life, individuals are tied to place and purpose. If a woman dies in childbirth, she becomes Xipe, a noble woman's spirit. Her spirit accompanies the sun from noon to sunset. She is dangerous and honored, sometimes causing seizures in living women. Effigies of Xipe are made and placed on altars to appease them. This view of birth elevates the everyday act of childbearing to cosmic significance. It honors women as warriors whose struggle ensures the continuation of life. Agriculture is a sacred art. The chinampa, the floating field, is a masterpiece of ingenuity. To build one, farmers drove stakes of willow, or ahuejote, into the lake bottom in a rectangular pattern. They wove reeds between the stakes, creating a fence. Within this enclosure, they piled mud and lake sediment until it rose above the water's surface. They planted willow trees at the corners. Their roots anchored the structure. Over time, the soil became rich and stable. Farmers planted maize, beans, squash, chilies, tomatoes, amaranth, and flowers. They could harvest several times a year because the chinampas had constant access to water. Narrow canals between the chinampas allowed canoes to pass, carrying goods and people. Ducks swam, frogs croaked, dragonflies hovered. The air smelled of wet earth and green leaves. The farmers spoke to their plants, singing songs to Xilonen, the young maize goddess. They thanked Ometeotl for each ear of corn. They pulled weeds and prayed. A chinampa was not just a farm, it was a cosmos in miniature. It had its own spirits, its own microclimate. The farmer's daily labor was a ritual of love. He rose before sunrise, paddled his canoe through mist, touched the soil with reverence. He knew that the gods watched and that his work sustained his family and his city. Today, some chinampas still exist, patches of green in the urban sprawl, reminders of a time when humans and water danced together. To record and pass on their knowledge, the Mexica and their neighbors created codices, screenfold books made of deerskin or amate paper. Scribes and painters called Tlacuilo used fine brushes made of rabbit hair to apply pigments made from cochineal insects, ground malachite, carbon from soot and flowers. They painted glyphs representing dates, names, places, and events. They combined images with short hieroglyphic captions. Codices recorded migration stories, tribute lists, genealogies, rituals, and prophecies. They were not meant to be read silently, but to be performed. A speaker would unfold the book panel by panel, pointing to images, telling the story aloud. Colors were vivid, reds like blood, blues like twilight, yellows like marigold petals. The codices were stored in temples and palaces. When the Spaniards arrived, many codices were destroyed. Some were sent to Europe, where they now sit in museums. Others were hidden. Those that survive are windows into the Aztec mind. When you look at a page, you see footprints indicating movement, swirling water lines showing lakes, dotted lines linking people, hearts and blood signifying sacrifice, headdresses marking status. Each mark is deliberate. The Tlacuilo works slowly, grinding pigments, mixing them with sap, applying them with care. He prays to his patron god, often Xochipilli, the prince of flowers and art. He wants his work to please both humans and gods. The codex is not just a document, it is a living thing, a repository of memory. Trade, too, carries stories across distances. Imagine a group of Pochtecas setting out from Tenochtitlan before dawn. They carry packs filled with turquoise from the north, cacao beans from the south, cotton cloaks from the Gulf Coast, and obsidian blades from the volcanic highlands. Their leader, an experienced merchant, offers incense to Tezcatlipoca and ties a red cord around the group. They leave the island city, walking across causeways, passing fields and villages. They climb mountains where pine forests whisper and descend into valleys where tropical trees shade the path. They cross rivers on wooden bridges, offering flowers to water spirits. They sleep under thatched roofs of distant communities, sharing stories and goods. They meet traders from the Maya region, exchanging obsidian for jadeite. They learn foreign words and songs. They return months later with new goods: jaguar skins, colorful birds, seashells, and stories of distant temples painted in red and blue. Their journey is a thread connecting cultures. They are diplomats and spies, carrying messages and mapping unknown lands. They gather knowledge of geography, of flora and fauna, of political alliances. In markets back home, they speak of waves crashing on distant shores, of cities built on mountains, of people who honor gods with different names but similar hearts. Through them, the Mexica world expands, not just physically, but imaginatively. Tlaloc smiles, his hooked nose sniffing out new possibilities. Obsidian, the volcanic glass that forms when lava cools rapidly, is a material both practical and mystical. It fractures into edges sharper than steel, making blades for cutting flesh and maize, alike. It is dark, reflecting light like a mirror. Tezcatlipoca's epithet, smoking mirror, refers to obsidian mirrors used for divination. A priest polishes a convex disc of obsidian until it is so reflective that one can see into it. He gazes, focusing not on his own face, but on the swirling shadows. He asks questions. Will the rains come? Will war be won? Will a child survive? Visions appear, perhaps from the god himself. Obsidian mirrors are also used to summon images of gods and rituals. Obsidian blades cut hearts out quickly, the edges so sharp that the heart emerges still beating. Obsidian arrowheads equip the jaguar and eagle warriors. Obsidian flakes fall on floors of workshops, glinting like black stars. The stone is mined in mountains like Pachuca and traded widely. Craftsmen know how to work it, how to strike it at the right angle. They treat it with reverence. If a piece breaks unexpectedly, they may think Tezcatlipoca is displeased. The dark mirror becomes a symbol for introspection. To gaze into it is to face the unknown within and without. When you stand at a volcano's edge and see black glass in the ground, remember that this glass once flowed as molten rock, that it cooled quickly, that it holds fire within its coldness. Imagine holding an obsidian blade. It is weightless yet deadly, beautiful yet dangerous. It is a perfect metaphor for the gods themselves. During the new fire ceremony, we have noted that people waited for a new flame to be kindled. An important part of that night is the watching of the Pleiades. The Pleiades, a cluster of stars in the constellation of Taurus, are called Tianquistli, the marketplace. As the 52-year cycle ends, priests and watchers climb a hill and stare at the sky. All fires are extinguished. The city is dark. People break their pots, drape their heads with maguey fiber, and climb onto rooftops, waiting. They watch the Pleiades move. The belief is that if the Pleiades reach the zenith, the world will continue. If they stop, the world will end. The watchers hold their breath. The stars slowly move upward. When they reach the top of the sky, a sigh of relief runs through the valley. A victim is sacrificed. Fire is drilled into his chest. The world renews. The watchers shout, "It is born! It lives!" They distribute fire. The Pleiades are thus markers of cosmic time. Today, when you look at that cluster, remember that for ancient Mexica, those stars determined whether the sun would rise for another half-century. Their brightness is a promise kept. The warriors who die in battle or on the sacrificial stone do not go to Mictlan. Their souls accompany the sun from rising to zenith. In the house of the sun, Tonatiuh-Ichan, they laugh, sing, and watch over the living. They fight again in the sky against the forces of darkness. After 4 years, they turn into butterflies and hummingbirds. They return to earth, sipping nectar from flowers, flitting among gardens. When you see a hummingbird hovering near a blossom, you are seeing the soul of a warrior. Women who die in childbirth join them, escorting the sun from noon to sunset. They are honored with the same reverence as warriors. Their spirits may cause seizures if displeased, but they also bring inspiration. Offerings of flowers and songs are made to them. In this, we see that bravery is not limited to the battlefield. It is present in the birthing room as well. The Aztecs recognize valor in both men and women, in acts of violence and in acts of creation. Ethics and proper behavior are taught through Huitzilopochtli, the words of the elders. These are speeches and counsel passed from parents to children, from leaders to the populace. They emphasize moderation, respect, humility, and duty. A father tells his son, "Be like the jade stone, flexible, yet precious. Do not be like the reed in the river, bending to every whim, nor like the stone that breaks without bending." A mother tells her daughter, "Your body is a vase, keep it clean. Your heart is a turquoise, do not let it crack." Leaders warn youth against arrogance. "The earth is slippery, your foot can easily slip. Do not climb too high, lest you fall." These proverbs use natural imagery to convey values. They teach that life is fragile, that success and failure are transient. They instill gratitude and caution. When elders speak, the community listens. The words are repeated in schools, markets, and temples. They shape conscience. The moral code is not separate from religion, it is an expression of it. By living ethically, one honors the gods. By performing duties diligently, one ensures cosmic balance. These teachings remind us that behind the spectacular rituals lies a daily practice of virtue. The midwife, the warrior, the merchant, the farmer, the artist, the ruler, the child, the elder, all are threads in the fabric of this society. Each thread carries color and texture. The midwife's thread is warm and strong, weaving between birth and death. The warrior's thread is bright and taut, woven into shields and drums. The merchant's thread is long and varied, connecting distant patterns. The farmer's thread is green and earthy, looping around chinampas. The artist's thread is vibrant, shimmering with pigments. The ruler's thread is golden, heavy with responsibility. The child's thread is light, open to new dyes. The elder's thread is soft, carrying memory. All threads cross at points, at festivals, at meals, at tragedies, at triumphs. The gods' fingers move through them, knotting and unknotting, tying and loosening. The fabric is not static. It grows, repairs, frays, and is rewoven. Our long narrative has traced some threads, but many remain unseen. They lie in the eyes of statues in museums, in the grooves of conches that once sounded at dawn, in the hands of present-day farmers who still plant corn by the phases of the moon, in the songs sung by fishermen on Lake Xochimilco. The story continues, not just in these pages, but in living practices. As we near the end of this long journey through memory and myth, let us slow our pace further, allowing images to drift into one another. See the duality at the heart of all things, male and female, dark and light, death and life. See Ometeotl holding these in balance. See the Four Tezcatlipocas turning the world like a stone mill. See the monstrous earth creature whose body became mountains. See the 5 suns rising and falling, each leaving echoes. See Nanahuatzin's courage, Tezcatlipoc's pride, the rabbit imprint on the moon. See Quetzalcoatl as wind and feather, as priest and star. See Tezcatlipoca's obsidian mirror reflecting possibilities. See Huitzilopochtli's hummingbird wings beating as he defends his mother. See Xipe Totec's flayed skin hanging, symbolizing growth. See Tlaloc's goggle eyes weeping rain and hail. See Xochiquetzal's flowers blooming, Mayahuel's agave spines gleaming. Hear Tlazolteotl's whispers of confession. Feel Chinteotl's emergence from soil. Chase Huehuecoyotl's laughter. Flinch at its papalotl's obsidian wings. Drink Mayahuel's sweet sap. Follow Chihuacoatl's cry in the night. Watch the ball bounce on the court like a sun between horizons. Hear drums echoing across water. Smell copal, the resin that binds prayers to smoke. Taste chocolate, thick with chilies. Feel obsidian cool beneath your fingertips. Sense the weight of turquoise beads. See skull racks glinting in the sun. Watch the new fire igniting, the breathlessness before it catches. Picture a priest raising a beating heart, blood cascading like a waterfall. See merchants paddling canoes laden with goods. Watch women weaving by lamplight. Observe children chasing each other around chinampas. Listen to elders telling stories that hold everything together. These images do not stand apart. They weave into a tapestry of being. As the night deepens, the story slows. The gods settle, their voices becoming softer. The fifth sun continues its journey, casting long shadows across temples and fields. The moon, Quetzalcoatl, rises and sets, her face serene despite her dismemberment. The stars, the sense on Huitzilopochtli, appear and vanish. The Milky Way arches overhead, a river of souls. The underworld is calm. Tezcatlipoca sits on his throne, listening to the quiet. In Tlaloc, children who drowned play among flowers. In the House of the Sun, warriors and women who died in childbirth sing. In Tezcatlipoca, those who died by suicide rest. In Huitzilopochtli, infants drink from a milk tree. The vertical axis, connecting all these realms, vibrates gently, like a string plucked by a cosmic musician. We stand somewhere along this axis, aware of our smallness, aware of our connection. The story of the Aztec gods is the story of motion and stillness, of cycles within cycles. It is the murmuring of water and the crackle of fire. It is the heartbeat in the chest and the heartbeat of the earth. It is the whisper of the wind and the roar of war. It is the birth cry and the death sigh. It is the unending dance of Ometeotl in countless forms. You lie in your bed, listening to the slow cadence of words. Your mind is full of images. Obsidian mirrors and feathered serpents, hummingbirds and jaguars, flayed skins and glistening rain, temples rising from lakes, fires lit on hilltops, people singing and offering. These images begin to blur into one another, like reflections on water disturbed by a gentle breeze. The boundary between your room and the ancient world dissolves. You feel cool stone beneath your fingertips. You smell copal and maize. You hear a distant drum. You taste chocolate. You feel the warmth of the sun and the cool of the moon. Your breath slows. The story has been long, yet it has flowed gently, like a river at night. It has wound through dark and light, through creation and destruction, through myth and memory. It has shown gods who are human and humans who are divine. As you drift towards sleep, the voices of the gods quiet, not gone, but resting. They will be there when you wake, in the sunrise that calls to mind Nanahuatsan's leap, in the wind that is Quetzalcoatl, in the rain that is Tlaloc, in the spark of creativity that is Xochiquetzal. They will be there in your dreams, guiding you through your own inner Mictlan, helping you cross rivers and climb mountains, showing you bones that become dancers. They will be there in the flowers that bloom outside your window and in the clouds that pass overhead. They will be there in the stories you tell to others, weaving again the long thread that binds generations. Good night.